Did you know that she gets up about 5 o'clock in the morning to go to her Korean church in North Surrey to pray, and then comes tearing back to walk with us? And up until recently, she would pick up her mother and father, who are in a care facility along the way. The father is 104 years old, and the mother is 88, 89 by now, and they would come. But nowadays, maybe the last month or so, she doesn't, because they're tired. Are they allowed to maybe sleep in? Oh, wow. This self-discipline and love for God has gotten her far in life. Now, she and her husband are philanthropists. They are involved in all kinds of wonderful community ventures, fundraising, and donating money. Peter served as the Consul General. You'll have to correct me if I have any mistakes with this. Consul General for Paraguay. And now what is he involved with? Korean?
Myanmar.
Yes, right now. Tomorrow, as a matter of fact, Stephanie and her husband and Val and Stockwell Day will be flying to Myanmar, where they're going to be establishing a village. Schools, homes, church, etc. And Peter has just flown in the first plane load of Jewish Ukrainian people to Israel. About almost 300 people. He chartered a plane, and they have landed in Israel already. He's going to be doing this 5 more times. So the philanthropy is amazing. It's wonderful. So she has been awarded an honorary doctorate. Hers most recently from Trinity Western University, and Peter's from another institution. And their good friend Stockwell Day received a doctorate at the same time that Stephanie did. Stephanie is also an author, and she'll be telling you more about the books. She has lived and continues to live a fascinating, generous, giving life with some heart-wrenching experiences. And she's here to share her journey with us. Please welcome with me Dr. Stephanie Chung.
She gave a beautiful introduction, but she's so kind. Oh, okay, like this? Oh, like this. Oh, okay. Right, maybe I hold it like this.
Like you're eating it, like a lollipop.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So good to see you, everybody. Thank you for sharing my testimony this morning. I am so humbled and I'm honored. My daughter just told you that this is the first time I'm giving my testimony in English. So I must say that I'm shaking all over. Please help me. As we all know that there are 7 man-made wonders of the world, like the Great Wall in China, and Chichen Itza Pyramid in Mexico, and Machu Picchu in Peru, yes, and then Christ the Redeemer in Brazil, and Colosseum in Italy, the Petra in Jordan, and the Taj Mahal in India. Yes, thank you. Koreans believe there are 4 things that are impossible. The first one is to take a star from the sky. Impossible, huh? The second one is to keep a married son on a mother's side. Third one is to pin a hairpin on a monk's head. No hair. Monk's head.
Monk.
Monk's head. Yes, monk's head. Thank you. Yes, I need to. And then the first one is to respect a retired husband. Life is hard. Okay. In addition to that, the list, we can add one other one as a Christians. That is to have a faith in God during troubled times. This can really be difficult. Of course, when life is good, it is not difficult to believe in Him. However, when darkness comes and I feel like I'm all alone in this world, it often becomes difficult to have a faith to God. It is only impossible without His grace. Let's think about suffering for a moment. In our lives, there are moments of happiness, but as we all know that there are also moments of when unexpected, unplanned hardship strikes you down. Among many possible afflictions we endure, one very difficult one is to lose a family member. Furthermore, the pain that is afflicted when parents bury their own child is indescribable. I was born into a Christian family. When I was about to graduate from university, I had an arranged marriage that happened within a week after I first met my husband. A couple of months later, I immigrated to the United States. To be frank with you, I didn't date my husband long enough to fall in love with him because marriage happened in just a week. So things were a bit awkward between me and my husband at the beginning. Can you imagine how difficult it must have been to settle in a brand new country with a man I hardly knew, where I could not even speak the language? As many of you might agree, marriage is often difficult, even for the couples who dated a long time before the wedding. Then I was pregnant. I was so happy. I focused all my energy into my baby. I tried to eat healthy food and have only positive thought. 9 months later, my first one was born. I was so happy because he was healthy and furthermore, he was handsome. But soon after, my son fell victim to medical malpractice that resulted in severe brain damage. When I first received the diagnosis for my son, it felt like the sky was falling on me. I did not know why such misfortune was befalling on me. When I thought I had lived an honest life, following the rules and lessons in the Bible all my life. As my son grew older, his future seemed more bleak. I started doubting whether God really existed, as everything around me was swallowed by eternal darkness. I'm sorry. It's something that I said over and over because all the accident and trouble that my son caused. When Joseph was young, every day was so exhausting. He was extremely hyperactive. He didn't sleep day and night. Anyone here who has a family member with disabilities would understand what I am talking about. Raising a child is difficult, but raising a child with special needs was extra challenging. When he went to puberty, Joseph had another problem. He began to have an epileptic seizure. We tried many different kinds of medication, but this epilepsy couldn't be controlled. Sometimes he had 7-8 times a day. It was so painful to see him go through them. When he had a seizure, I couldn't help him at all. I had to simply watch him. As a mom, I felt so useless and helpless. All I was able to do was just crying out to the Lord. Oh Lord, help him. Please wake him up. Oh Lord, help. There were no words that could comfort me. That time, I heard a sermon from a pastor talking about God has a plan for everybody, from Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you, plans not to harm you, plans to give you hope and future. Anytime Joseph had a seizure, I did meditate and meditate over and over. I tried to believe that verse. Then somehow that verse was indeed in my heart. Really, God's word were powerful. And then I started to have a peace in my heart. A few years later, I moved to BC from the state. I had an opportunity to perform a concert. Before the concert, media interviews were scheduled to the promotional purposes. During the interview, a journalist asked me about my family. And then she asked me about how old is my first child. So I said, he's 21. Then she said, is he in college? So I said, my first son could not go to the college, saying he has disabilities. But then, he is a blessing to me and blessing to my family. I still to this day have no idea. I could say so confidently. After newspaper came out, I started to receive the phone call from a young mom who has a special needs child. She wanted to talk to me so desperately. Just hearing her sound of her voice made my heart break because I knew how hard it was raising a disabled child in a foreign country with no friends, no relatives. The moment we met, mere instantly, we felt so tight. We understood where we were coming from. Since then, we met regularly once a week. And then we shared and prayed each other and had Bible studies. One day, one of moms said to me, "Oh, Stephanie, I thought my son's disability was due to the sins of my past lives, so I always struggled with guilt and pain." She was a Buddhist, but after reading scripture, it is so clear that children's disability is not because mom's sin, not by God's mistake. It was all for the glory of God. Because if you did not have a Joseph, then you would not have our group. Then there is no way I would heard gospel. Stephanie, I think Joseph is a missionary. When I heard that Joseph is a missionary, I was so shocked because when I was pregnant of Joseph, my husband and I prayed together that we raise him as a pastors or missionaries. But we never told anybody because of his disabilities. And even I forgot myself that I prayed for it. Now God spoke to me through